think we're going to get started because it is 10 o'clock and you all are punctual. So we'll get started. So hello all, my name is Tucker and what I do here. I'm the facilitator today, and my role here is I'm the GM assistant. So I work in the office of general manager and kind of help with tours and training, as well as a variety of different kind of strategy rollouts that have been assigned to me by the GM. And with me is Jeff Kaas. I'll have him introduce himself in a minute. And because of COVID and protocols, we have plexiglass in between us, just so you know, if Jeff has his mask off, we are practicing safe habits. And so yeah, a little bit about us. So some of you I don't necessarily recognize, so it's really exciting because it's an awesome opportunity to get to know you and vice versa. We're a manufacturing organization up here in Mukilteo, Washington, and we make furniture and aerospace parts for a variety of different clients. And we've been on this kind of lean journey for about 20 years. And along the way, we've hit some trees, we've gotten some scars. So we just like to share our knowledge and also have it be more of a conversation today. Basically, Jeff will be talking about strategy and how that kind of works here at Kaas and some of the lessons we've learned. And then we'll be hearing from one of our guests, Mark Johnson from Golden, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. And then, yeah, so that's kind of the agenda for the day. Is we'll be chatting in a variety of different ways around strategy. So without further ado, Jeff, why don't you go ahead and take over from here.
So good morning. Thank you for joining us. And it's cool to see some very familiar faces, people that we wish were in our building, hanging out together. So good morning to you if we know you, and welcome if we don't know you. Hopefully, it is our intent to be a blessing to you today. So as collaborative as possible, use the chat thing. I think there is a thing called chat. Any questions you have along the way, I think Tucker's going to send you into breakout rooms. And I'm really excited to hear from Mark at Golden, because this is going to be a totally different experience for us. So we have a commitment to put out in the world a series, and we're going to do, I think, 4 or 5, starting with a high level, which we already completed. What is daily management? And then each of the elements will do an event like this. And we hope that it's useful, practical, and then it drives further conversations. So with that, I'll get started. So daily management system, when I write the letters DMS, that's what we mean by daily management system. And if you were here before, you might have heard me say, hey, we didn't even know we had a daily management system until some people who came in and toured us from Nordstrom were like, yeah, you have one. And I ignored them for 3 or 4 years. And those of you who are here know who you are. I'm good at ignoring. It takes me 7 to 10 times before I learn something. And so, yeah, so we have one. And one of the things that we've been really learning more about that is it's the connection between strategy and our daily activities. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper on the strategy piece. As an overview though, daily management system should start with a very clear strategy. We should be able to see in our huddle structure the activities happening on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that are in line with that strategy. Our visual management system should be telling us the truth all the time. And then we map that into something called leader standard work. When we say we're leaders, we mean all of us. We're all leaders at some point of the day. Does our time that we're spending reflect the priorities that have either been decided for us or that we've decided for our own lives? So today we'll go a little bit deeper on strategy. I thought I'd share a little bit what we're going through. So one of our commitments is we don't really know what we're doing on a lot of stuff, and we want to share the mess that we are rather than share that we're awesome. So those of you who've attended a waste tour, we named it that because we know we're not all that great at delivering value yet, and we intend to get better at it. So we're going to show you something that we're working on right now, and I don't know if it'll be helpful to you or not, but we'll try it. So when we say strategy, what we mean is starting with who we're trying to be. So right now, this poster that I'm standing in front of is a work in process for us to edit with some level of clarity. What does the organization care about? And what we have really decided is we want to be about shining light. As a mission, we want to be about identifying potential in a human being, a project, a community, and helping that come to life. And it all starts with a question of where are we going? So the first, I think, foremost for any organization or a group of people, or even maybe as a family. I used to coach soccer, even as a soccer team. Where are we going? Why are we playing soccer together? Why are we building beautiful things together? Why are we collaborating? So for me, if I don't have the why, I'm totally useless. So if you've ever been in a meeting with me, and some of you have, and I'm totally lost, I'm like, I don't know why we're trying to do this. Why don't we just not? It's because my brain just doesn't turn on until I understand the direction we're going. So for us, we have actually said shine light, and we've actually landed on 3 values. We want to know and show the truth every day. We want to give our very best to our best, which means saying no to the suckies, kind of rude to say, but true, and then improve every day. So through those values, that's position 1. Because if we don't know who we're trying to become or why we exist, any strategy will not be embedded in taking you to that direction. So for the strategic piece, then the next question is if, and this is my process, I'm not sure if it's smart, but every year I look at the world and I do a bit of an economic forecast, and I look at our current situation and I think, what do I need to see in the next 1 to 3 years? What needs to be happening so that we thrive and we are achieving, moving in the direction of our mission? This year, what I released to the team is I hope it's clear, better than I've done in the past, that we want to take the time it takes to create value and cut that by 75%. So when I give goals, I want to be very clear to give them work on a strategy piece that will deliver what the business needs, but be consumable by the team. So if I am coaching a soccer team and I say win more, what does the team do with that? That's, of course, an outcome that you might want to have. It's much more practical for me to say to the team, hey, I want to see 2 or 3 more passes from you every game. And I would have to know that those passes, if conducted well, might increase the odds of us winning a game. So for us, I'm trying to give something very practical to the team. And then the method that we go about getting that achieved is actually we're using Toyota Kata. So for those of you who heard that term, it's a very simple process of, hey, we're trying to achieve something together. Where are we at today? And let's move a little bit every day in the direction of good. So we don't predict and we don't pretend to control outcomes. We think that that's outside of our influence. We believe that we should do the work and we can control processes and our behaviors and our thoughts and our actions, but the outcomes are actually given to us or happen something outside of us. So what I mean by that is, as a farmer, I might want to have a really great harvest, but I don't make the corn grow. So my farmer family and I would sit down and say, how will we stir the dirt? How will we turn the soil so that we have a variety of things growing? What seeds shall we plant? When will we cover them? How often will we water them? Those are the things in our strategy that we want our team, as farmers, if you will, have very practical, I'll do this part. And then when there's an outcome, of course, we'll celebrate it. But we're not going to get too beat up if we don't have the outcome. So we don't have a crystal ball. So that's kind of our worldview of that. So what that should mean is that my entire team, and when I say team, I mean anybody who cares to know where we're trying to go, which is maybe at any given time, only 20% of my team actually cares enough to actually ask the question, where are we going? I want them to be able to say, well, right now we're just trying to take however long it takes us to create value, we're trying to cut it down to a quarter of the current time. And how we're doing that is through Kaizen or Kata. I would then expect to hear that in the daily huddle, meaning I would expect to see people working on that saying, hey, I ran an experiment yesterday. Here's what I learned. Today, I'm going to run this experiment, and this is what I think will happen. So that it's a little bit every day. I love the idea of letting business and life be an adventure rather than something that I predict and try to manage to. So the adventure part of this is really, hey, we know where we want to be, where we want to go, but let's admit that we don't know the future. So let's not spend too much over processing time predicting all the targets along the way. Let's experience that together. What we're finding by using Kata and that thinking is that the progress is more consistent, it's in smaller bits, and it's a little bit more fun. Sometimes my joy in life is reduced by my expectations of doing something awesome. If I just expect every day to do a little bit, it's a little bit easier for me. So, and then from that, we would expect to see it on a visual management system. So what you see behind us, if you ever come tour us, this will be the new dance floor. So the new dance floor will have a revised org chart, we call this the destination guide. So it's a place to answer the question, where are we going, at an individual level. So if you're one of our team members here and you're like, hey, I want to grow, I want to be equipped, I don't know what my future holds. Nobody does, by the way. So they can walk up to us and say, hey, I'm currently in this department and I want to learn how to do this job and this job and this job. We can actually make a map for their future and give them experiences if they want to grow. So the visual management system we're building right now so that you can walk up and go, there's the kata we're working on, cut the distance, or cut the lead time by 75%, all value creation. We can see the progress of that. And then on the right-hand side of the dance floor, visually, you'll be able to see, hey, what are our thinking models? What are our policies? What are the guiding principles so that when we're doing experiments, we're experimenting in the direction of what we say we believe. So with that, that's how we do strategy. I would say this is something I'm extremely weak at. I'm actually fairly decent as a leader of saying, we will have a what policy, statement of purpose. We've had that written for years and years. And I'm fairly decent at saying, this is where we want to go. Ooh, pointing there. We want to shine light. We want to actually deliver joy to people, and we want to create an opportunity for potential. What I'm really crappy at is setting very specific targets like you just heard. So this is an area of growth for us. So this is the mess we're in. This is exactly where we're at. This document was reviewed for the first time by the general manager yesterday. And if you care to see what it turns out to be, text or call and come visit us. But we'll probably show that in the next video. So should we do questions on that now, or should we let Mark have the mic? And yeah, any questions, just where we're at, so that we do this in bit and don't go too far. And I think you can do that either by grabbing the mic or typing that in the chat thing. And I'll count to like 10. 1. Any questions? Nobody grabbing the mic? I know it's so awkward on this whole thing.
Jeff, may I ask you a question?
Please do. Good morning. Afternoon, actually. You're in Germany.
Yeah,
right?
good evening. Is it here? It's 7:15 here in Barcelona.
Okay, good
Spain.
to see you. Oh,
so,
nice, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, so how are let's say the just normal employees involved in setting strategy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when you say normal, what do you mean?
Well, I assume if we're all peers, so, but of course you also speak about leaders and as a general manager, and I guess that's a role. I don't know how often it rotates, but so how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So my job, and so there's a thinking model we use, which is, and we use several thinking models. One is the idea of time frame. So the today work is very much organized and controlled by the Jeffs who've been here for 2 days or 2 years, where we have an order, we're transacting that order, and we're improving the way that we do that work on a regular basis. So they'll be involved in the improvement activity, meaning the katas, but they won't be involved in the direction setting. When I was here for even 5 years, was completely unqualified to steer this company. My next group of people with authority, and that's what we say, we don't call them leaders, just people with authority. They're focused on tomorrow and today. So they're overseeing today, and they're trying to connect where are we going, to tomorrow part, to today. So we can start to see, okay, look, so one of our other desires is that we see kata conversations happening throughout the business. And the simple version of that is, oh, you're doing something today. What do you hope to learn? And then the follow-up is, hey, you did that yesterday. What did you learn? And what made what curiosity might you have about the next thing you might do? I live in the day after tomorrow. It is actually my job assignment to steer the company. So, and that input comes from the outside world, conversations with you guys, conversations with my own team. But I've been here. I've been here for, I think, 40 years. I was absolutely not qualified to steer the values of the company when I was here earlier. So we actually think that there's one decision maker on this. It's actually my job to make that decision, but it is very collaborative. Like, we spent a year working on this statement here, and there's probably 10 to 15 people involved directly and a lot of others indirectly. So does that answer your question?
Yes, for now. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
The way
more appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, you mute yourself for a second. Yeah, I don't have a the way we kind of think about it is that Jeff's role is to select the music. If we're an orchestra, which is the metaphor you like to use, Jeff selects the music and says like, this is the direction, this is what I'd like to hear as the business owner, president, captain, whatever. And then the general manager, so my team with my boss, the GM, Ken, we try to conduct and make the music happen through the teams. So there is a feedback loop of when Jeff's listening to the music, he's kind of hearing what's going on and says like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So we can kind of steer that a little bit. So yeah, that's a helpful metaphor for me. There is a question, the next question, Doug Hall, who teaches skiing with me actually into winter. He has a question, do we have a strategic plan document? And how does that work?
So the question is, do we have a strategic plan document? And I would say absolutely no. This is where I'm super weak. The reality of our business is that we have everything on the wall. And so the plan is for the team to be working every day a little bit on cutting the lead time by 75%. The way that I would observe that would be to attend either a Zoom meeting or a live kata coaching session where there's a report back every day on that. When I used to spend time doing big plans, and we'd fight for hours, and we'd have this batch plan that we thought was going to be awesome. And to be real honest, what we found was that we weren't very good at predicting the future. And so when I would put in writing, this is the plan for the year, I didn't do a good enough job for that to be something living and breathing. So there's a way to have done that much better. But the truth is right now, absolutely, we definitely don't. And this is an area of growth, I think, for me personally. What we really actually think in terms of getting this stuff working, though, is through the daily management system, which is what we're talking about, to make this feel light of, hey, this is the direction we're going. Are you experimenting in that direction? And the expectation isn't that you cut costs by 10%, it's that you did 10 experiments in the last 2 weeks. So we have to kind of think about roots and fruits. And what I think is the fruit of, let's say, a financial target, which might be something that we desperately need to accomplish, is governed by what we do at the roots. So when I say we're weak at this is, I think, we're very not like other business people, that we don't have a plan that executes out. We do have a vision of what good looks like, and it's more of a story. So part of our process when we do kick this off is the program manager needs to write a story. Hey, it's 5 or 10 years from now, and this is what awesome looks like on this. And we're trying to embed that into the thinking. But we want this to be visual and experiential as opposed to a document. I've written enough of those that at least my personal style or my management methods, I've not yet acquired a capability to predict the future. And then, great question. And this is why we're like, we're going to show you the mess. We actually suck at this. I should say I suck at it. Yeah. Any other questions? Or does that answer your question, Doug?
Yeah, Jeff, that's great. Thanks. I applaud your open and honest and humble approach. And
yeah, it's not so humble, but it's super honest.
No, you're humble and vulnerable at the same time, and thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you for your questions. We have a couple more that we'll get to momentarily. So if you have any more questions, feel free to just lob them in the chat. I'll be kind of monitoring that as we go. But I'd like to introduce my dear friend, Mark Johnson from Golden. If you aren't aware of Golden, I know that Valentine's Day isn't close. What's the nearest holiday? Christmas is coming up. And they make beautiful handmade jewelry. They started on, actually, Mark, why don't you'll do a better job than this. Why don't you introduce your organization and then take it over from there?
Great, thanks, Tucker. I work for Golden Inc. and I'm the COO, and hiding in the group of people is Chrissy Lavdowski, our founder and CEO. And as Tucker mentioned, we're a online direct-to-consumer jewelry company. We're really a startup. We've been in business about 7 years. We make jewelry up north in Lacona and Bellingham, Washington, and sell online through 2 websites. We started out, Chrissy started the business, classic startup business on her kitchen table, making jewelry, selling on Etsy. And within a couple of years, we were the biggest seller on the Etsy platform. And the first big strategic decision that Chrissy made was that we could not continue our growth on Etsy and that we really needed to forge our own path with our own brand. And we launched the GLDN.com website in 2016, and that's really been our growth platform, although we are still on Etsy as well. So, but our business model lends itself well to lean. Most of what we make is made to order. You know, Chris's philosophy has always been why make jewelry and then spend a lot of money on marketing to try to persuade people to buy it? Why not just ask them what they want and then make it for them? So we're mostly a make to order operation, and everything's made here in Washington State, and that's what we do, and we're getting ready for our busy Christmas period. So to talk about strategy for a few minutes, obviously we're a small company. We have about 80 employees, and almost everybody in the company is homegrown. I was brought in from the outside about 2 years ago, so I have some experience from larger companies. And one of the big challenges is to sort of take some of the disciplines that I've learned in bigger companies and find out what is the right size for our operation. And I want to go back to Jeff's soccer analogy. You know, if we're thinking about soccer as strategy, we're the first grade team right now, where the ball moves from one part of the pitch to the other, and then we all chase after it and try to get it and point it towards the goal. And but we have one. There's always one player who's head and shoulders above everyone else, and that's been Chrissy, and she's been the person to sort of shout the strategy, and this is what the team needs to do for the longest time. What we're really trying to do is to nail down our vision, mission, purpose at this point, so that can inform our strategy. And most of our strategic decisions have been pretty organic and driven from the top so far. So we're trying to mature ourselves and pass the ball more and get more collaboration around what strategy looks like. I got a document. I'm not going to kill you with slides, but I've got 2 slides I just wanted to show you to talk about how we're thinking about strategy and some of the things that we've done wrong, and kind of how our great ambitions around strategy have got derailed this year with COVID-19. So I'm going to share my screen for a sec here. And there we go. I hope you're going to be able to see this. Hold on a sec. Okay, Tucker, give me a verbal if you can see the strategy thoughts slide here.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay,
yet.
hold on.
You do have permission to. I've granted that.
Okay. Go back here. That. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah,
Doing
okay.
things. Perfect.
Yep. Hold on. And where am I? Give me a second. Okay. Okay. Can you see that now?
Perfect.
Yep, thanks. Okay, so our mission at Golden is empowering people through craft, and we are focused obviously on our customers and offering them a fantastic experience with a customized piece of jewelry that's very meaningful for them or for whoever they want to gift it to. but also very empowering for our people who have meaningful jobs in rural communities and can build skills and grow their careers in a kind of artistic light manufacturing environment. And I've just got 6 thoughts really that I was going to share with you as to how we're thinking about things, and a couple of quotes here and there to kind of inform what we're trying to not do, I guess. So the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do, and simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Are my 2 quotes, and really, and I've got one from Steve Jobs here, really trying to emphasize that as a small company, we got to be very focused, and we've definitely tended to try to do all things in the past. And one of the big strategic decisions that we made, as I mentioned earlier, was to move from selling on Etsy, which is a platform with millions of merchants, to our own website and trying to focus and build our own brand and deliver a better experience. And every day we come across situations where we have to compromise what we want to do because it doesn't work for our Etsy customers. And that's one of the areas where we really need to invest our time on the golden side of the house. And you know, so we're not putting our energy behind Etsy right now. It's still chugging along, but it's not really where we're trying to build things. And sometimes it's hard for people who grew up with the business when Etsy was all we had, to sort of see us not giving it the love that they feel it deserves. But that's one of the things that we really need to think on is you know, what are the few things that we're going to focus on. The other challenge we're facing is balancing the here and now and how to optimize what we're doing today with building the future. We've enjoyed quite a bit of good growth. This year has been an unusual year for all of us, I know that. But we're definitely trying to balance, you know, how much we invest in optimizing what we're doing right now and what we're going to be doing this year with how we're going to be building our team and our skills and our marketing for the future. And then, you know, adding value in the eyes of, I caveat that, most of the customers. So the big principle of lean that we embraced without realizing it was that, you know, don't do anything that doesn't add value in the eyes of the customers. And we definitely focus on what the customers want, because we don't produce anything that they haven't ordered from us. But we also try not to get distracted by outlier customers. There's always, you know, some people who want us to go in a very different direction than what we plan. And, you know, our customers didn't tell us to go into business. That was Chris's vision. And she has fantastic instincts about what the customers might want in the future. And so they're not always going to tell us what the future holds. And so we have to balance what we're hearing from the customers and use that as insight as to how we're going to grow and innovate in ways that they don't expect. And then what can go wrong, or has gone wrong, I would say. Obviously, our focus of trying to balance the here and now and next year changed this year on March the 23rd, when all of our makers in our 2 locations were sent home because of the COVID lockdown, and we had to pivot very quickly to stay in business. And we ended up sending all of our makers home with their tools. We bought a couple of vans and started delivering raw materials to their houses. And, you know, for about 3 or 4 months, we were making jewelry in about 35 different jewelry makers' homes, delivering the raw materials, giving them the orders from the customers, picking up the finished goods, and then shipping them from our locations. And we were in survival mode and focused very much on the next day, next week. But we did learn a lot of interesting things during that period that are going to help us in the future. You know, we came up with new virtual visual management systems where we could see backlogs and too much inventory or not enough inventory and waiting going on, even when it was happening in people's houses. And so we put a lot of effort into how to digitally track things. That's going to be a benefit to us as we come back into on-site working. Things that have been difficult for us as we've tried to roll out strategy to our teams is either being so specific that everything we ask people to do is they see as an exception to what we've told them. So it's important for us to let people see the where we are going without being too prescriptive about the how, and setting principles to be used to interpret new situations. And stories and examples are great, but we just need to be careful. We found we need to be careful with how we use those examples so that they don't become that's the only way to do things. Being inflexible. This is a year we've all had to be flexible, but if we just keep doing what we're doing, we're going to end up where we're heading, which if we hadn't changed things in March, we would not be in business right now. But it's very important to not get so anchored in your strategy that you don't respond or reserve the right to get smarter with new information. And then the last one, which I think is, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on this, is keeping our strategy secret. This was something where, not that we did not want to share it with people, but we were, I'm sort of resonating with me what Jeff was talking about with spending so much time trying to perfect the message. In trying to perfect the message, we didn't share enough with people, and it's been hard for people to understand the strategy because we've been wanting to refine the delivery of it and make it the perfect kind of experience for our employees as we try to do for our customers. And we're realizing we just need to deliver good enough information sooner and more frequently to our customers. And the quote I got here was really, when you get tired about talking about your strategy storyline, you've reached about 3% of your target population. And so we need to communicate early and more often than we've been doing. And I would say those are the three big things that we're trying to do better. And with that, I will stop sharing.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
That was great. Does anyone have any questions for Mark related to what he just touched on before moving on? Cool. Well, if something does come to mind, definitely drop it in the chat, or when we open it up to Q&A later, would be a good time to ask those questions as well. So we have a couple questions that have come through. Let's go to the one from Vincent here. Do we have any insight from our pivot earlier this year when we switched to PPE? What happened when we shifted? What did we notice? Did it change the way you manage now? I'm going to drop a link to our, we did do a blog post on this on our website, so I'm going to drop that as well. But I think we've learned stuff even since this came out a couple months ago. So take away, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that was really a blessing of COVID is the feedback loop was really, really, really tight. So if we did something stupid, like we knew within like 5 minutes, and then we basically could get up every day like a kid learning how to walk. And so the feedback loop for us when we're doing masks and gowns, we still do a bit of those, and shields was, oh my gosh, we've never made so many of the same thing in my entire career. So I think we've been in business 45 years, and the thing that we've made the most of are little blue masks. So the feedback loop was really significant. And what I started to realize, there's a model that we use, we call it a thinking model, KRAF. So when we see work where the knowledge and the responsibility is known, the people can take action, the feedback loop is tight, that job, that organization is designed in such a way to make things happen really well. What we found through this process is the way that we create value as day after tomorrow people, or the tomorrow people, is that it wasn't really clear who's responsible. We weren't even sure what action looked like. What does a feedback loop look like? And clearly I'm not qualified to do my job. I just was born into it. This is just a funny Jeff thing, but kind of true. So what we started seeing, and we had this great like whole body experience. So any of you who've done a pipe simulation with us, you've experienced, oh my gosh, overproduction just sucks. I hate it. It hurts my body. Please stop. We started thinking about applying that in just our daily communications. So our huddles have, number one, did not exist before COVID. And now they exist and they're creating value. So the idea to action is going from maybe weeks to like every day we're seeing action. So we're trying to look at the value bubbles of decisions or communications or even plans. We're starting to see that flow a lot like you would see the pipe simulation or airplane exercise. So to me, the biggest like learn for us is we're applying the principles that we saw in our lines in a way that we've never done before. So and how that relates to strategy. This is why I set the goal of, hey, take the current lead time it takes to create value, and that value might be just the ideas that we share. Cut it by 75%. What I know I'm going to get as an organization is more joy, better response to customer, for sure, better profits, those kind of things. But what I want to drive is we want to have standard work that's actually legit. We want to have a response when that thing isn't being followed. So what we learned is it actually informed the strategy piece that we were rolling out. And the blessing of it is just we got to experience success and failure almost on an hour by hour basis. There's a ton of other learnings, I would say, but does that answer your question specifically, Vincent?
This is great. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thanks for asking questions. Is there another question?
Yeah, we have a question from our friend Ann Mahoney over at Nordstrom. Let's see. Reflecting on the first part of today, what happens if, sorry, this is party. I don't know if it's, Ann, can you ask that question so I don't butcher it?
Sure, no problem. Reflecting on the first part of the day, just wondering, what happens, Jeff, if the lowest level leadership is not aligned on strategy as you start to move through that connected daily, sorry, I'm on a walk. You start to move through that
it's all good. Enjoy the walk.
Connected daily management system. So if our lowest level leaders aren't aligned, where do you see defects or what might happen?
Yeah. Okay. So let's put it into outside of Nordstrom speak. When you say lowest level, you mean the people with most authority. So
got it.
The question is, what happens if Jeff, meaning I own responsibility of president, Ken, the general manager, and the section leaders, what if we are not aligned on strategy? And what I can tell you is it means that the entire company is running different directions and we aren't making music. So what I'm sure all of you can relate to is if you've ever been to church and heard really crappy music, or wherever you go to crappy music, but usually church is the place, the musicians are all trying hard, but if they're not playing together as a team, the whole crowd, their bodies are freaking out. When we are not aligned, then what I would fully expect is really crappy music. And that is exactly what's been happening. In the time of COVID, what it became very, very clear is the belief in one piece flow was at a different level of conviction inside my body than in Ken's body. And so we had a massive fight, and I think we've mentioned this before, but a massive fight because at some point I realized, oh, you don't believe this. You're actually arguing with me about gravity. And this was like a very, it was a gift of a moment because the two of us realized, oh, we have absolutely different strategies. We have different beliefs. I'm saying, please do this. And you're actually telling everybody, nah, ignore him, do something different. Exaggerating a little bit on the way that was communicated, but the reality was actually worse. So if your leaders can't agree in writing, this is where we're trying to go. And these are the beliefs that drive that behavior, then we can't do what we're doing. So now the blessing of having a daily huddle is instead of finding out a week or a month or a quarter later that we aren't aligned, we're finding out every day, like literally every day. Oh shit, we're not aligned. Hey, let's talk about that. And because we've already decided that I own certain things, one decision maker, he owns other things, one decision maker, it makes it much easier for us to have that conversation. So there is a thing that we use, it's called decision funnel, where we start with very, very high level. What are your beliefs? What are your goals? What are the conditions? And then what is the actual thing you're gonna do? You might call it a solution. I'll give you an example of this. It might be helpful. I'm not sure if it won't be, but if we don't believe the same things about, like, for example, we believe that the principles that we learned from Toyota are like gravity. fight them and it's going to hurt. If your organization doesn't know that those are principles, then you'll be debating things that are kind of silly because they're already known. So this is a super, super important part. And this is where the power of coaching leaders and pairing with them to teach them the principles. Most leaders actually know at least half, I would say maybe 7 or 8. And there'll be 5 or 6 that they really need to learn a different way. This is a little bit of the reason why we're trying to share with the world is, hey, as a leader, if you have more authority, the damage that you can do is so high. So we need to make sure that we have the same principles. What you don't hear us fighting about now is, hey, when we cut the lead time by implementing standard work and doing flow, nobody in the leadership team has any question about whether that makes sense. We're all like, yeah, let's do that. The frustration we have is how do we get there? I cannot imagine being in a place where somebody's going, oh, I'm not sure if flow is the right way to do it. I'd be like, oh, I just want to shoot myself now. I don't want to be here. So does that answer your question, Ann?
Totally, thank you.
It's basically fail mode. If you can't get leaders aligned on principles, who cares about the thing they want to do this year? It's not relevant. The problem is the alignment on the principles. Okay, go to breakout sessions or?
No, actually. We have a question for Mark from Alexis Barker from Nordstrom. How do you share your strategy with the team, and how do you share changes more specifically to your strategy? That one's for you, Mark.
Yeah. Again, context of us being a pretty small company. So we still have weekly all hands meetings with all of our team. And the approach that we've taken is trying to illustrate what our principles are through stories that kind of demonstrate how we've applied those and how they were sort of created. So, we have a principle of, being a team of resourceful rebels. And, we tell a story about one time where we were in a small facility and, the power went out, and the only way to get to the power was to kind of break into our next door neighbor's business because they were shut over the cyber week. And, so we did that and then paid for the repair to the door. So we tell stories like that to try to illustrate, how principles that can seem a little abstract get played out in reality. And then, try to reinforce that. But yeah, we've struggled to, because we've run out of stories that illustrate that. And we get, like I said, we're a soccer team that then sees the ball in a different part of the field, and we rush off there and don't keep up the continuous communication about this in the way that we should. So yeah, so work in progress. These are good questions that we don't yet have the greatest answers to.
Cool. Thank you, Mark. The one more question we have here, and then we'll kind of break out and do a little bit of reflection on the hour that we spent with each other. So Lori sent in a question if we have an obeya, and that is something I had to Google, so I didn't know what that meant. And then she gave a little bit more color to it, but it's basically like a room, basically kind of a war room that shows visually what our plan is and our plan of attack. And then how do we engage people to keep up our continuous improvement efforts. So to me, I would think this would be kind of more kata related, but.
So that's a great question. So when I say dance floor, the graphic that I showed you, that will be life size, and the head of the dance floor has maybe 20 feet of whiteboard there. But what we're finding is the actual actions moving in the direction of the strategy that we want to do, at least for this is, so if you think about strategy, it's not a today activity, it's a tomorrow or a day after tomorrow thing that we want to achieve. And the goal for leadership is how do you bring today's activities into the things that we need to do to tomorrow. So by using kata for us, it brings tomorrow's desires into an action that we can take today. And what we're finding, and this is another blessing of COVID, is that we can do our coaching cycles virtually. We can record those coaching cycles, and then we can share what we learned by just sending a video to one of our colleagues and saying, hey, we just had great coaching from our friend Mark Rosenthal, watch this. So our actual obeya, if you will, has changed a little bit. We were going to have those things plastered over the wall. And the negative part of having it plastered on the wall is it looks like a lot of litter, to be honest. It looks pretty happy, but it never would become a teaching tool. Now, if our goal is to grow people for a living, if I walk into our design and development area, which we call Canvas, if I walk into Canvas and Oz is going to give me an assignment, hey, you're going to work on these machines, he's going to then say, watch all the experiments that we've done before you touch that machine. And that might be, 2 hours worth of learning, but I'm going to understand all the things they did to get there. So, and if you've never been in our factory, the entire factory yells at us. It tells us about today so that we know where we're at. So it might be a good idea for in the future call to host some of this call from the factory so you can see the other things that are there. But we think that doing this virtually is actually giving us something that we can't do in real life. Does that answer your question? That's a great question, Lloyd.
Cool. Yeah. Another question coming in from Eric Ho. How present is the voice of your customer in the design of our strategy, and how do they show up, as well as their understanding of what they might value?
Yeah, great question. Almost not present. And what I mean by that is our customer voice is really around the human beings that grace us, meaning it might be a customer, but it might also be a supplier. I'm going to show you on the visual management board. Hopefully I didn't just drop something there. I did kind of. So what we have on, this is a worldview that I have, and Eric, we've had some conversations about this. The customers have a voice, products that we might develop, but so do the suppliers. And our community needs to have a very strong voice about what happens inside these four walls. So we want to be thinking about, okay, if we want to lift people out of poverty, if we want to actually have a positive impact on the ills in society, we need to be looking at what's going on in society and say, how does cost play into that? I happen to be a white dude. I don't think the world should be set up in my favor. What can we do in our company to drive the kind of things that we want to see for the next generation? And then here we have the impact on our families, and those family voices are really important. And last of all is ownership. That is the absolute opposite of what most companies are set up to do. So does that answer your question? So it's the many voices. It's not just a customer. I have to say no to most of the customers because most of them are trying to kill me. They're mostly trying to drive me out of business. They want lower prices. They want me to cut corners. They want me to deliver in unreasonable times. Unreasonable, right? Their policies are designed to kill me. Please don't quote me on that. Is there any customers on the line? I probably should check that first. That was kind of stupid. Maybe that one won't get shared. Does that answer your question, Eric? He's still there. He ran off. Oh, he's smiling.
No, it's medium. It's a medium answer. It's a medium answer. It's good.
Medium. Well, we'll go deeper.
I always want to go deeper, but
Okay, we'll do it another time. Okay, good to see you.
Okay, one more question. This comes from Jesse. I hear you today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. When do we reflect on yesterday?
That's a damn good question. Gotta say that. Yeah, so the day after tomorrow work that I do spends a lot of time looking at day before yesterday. So history has a lot of lessons for my day after tomorrow plan. So I can look and say, what happened when the railroads came in? What happened when the engine came in? So I can look at history and say, what was the network effect of that? And that actually really very much informs the future. The tomorrow work we do is informed by yesterday. So accounting is a yesterday art. It's an autopsy, if you will, that does inform tomorrow. So that is like, hey, did we hit gross margin last month? Oh crap, what are we doing next month? And then today is being present in the moment. Does that answer your question? Really glad you asked. That's a great question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What we're going to do next is we're going to break y'all into groups and breakout rooms. And hold on. Okay, there we go. Sorry. still new here. And basically what we're going to do is basically enter into a time of reflection, because we were just talking about reflection with reflecting on yesterday. And so I'll give you 5 minutes to kind of reflect on what did you learn, and then maybe kind of some kind of next steps or things that you're kind of thinking through in terms of how to better define your own strategy, both personally, but also professionally. So I'll put that instructions into the chat just in case you totally forgot. So yeah, I'm going to break you guys out into groups of 4 to 5, and then I'll bring you back in about 5 minutes. Okay, opening all rooms now. There we go. All right, so welcome back. Hopefully that was a good time to kind of chat around with some like-minded individuals about kind of strategy and how that can be applied in different ways. So we're almost to the end of our time. What we thought we'd do for the last 5 minutes is basically just use the chat feature and just basically brain dump anything, kind of what we're calling blitz the chat section here, which is like, what did you learn? What do you like? Kind of what was in that reflection, and then maybe what you hope to learn in future sessions. So we have the next 2 scheduled out for the rest of the year, and then but we just want to know how we can better bless you guys as a community of people who are trying to remove waste in your lives. So yeah, just basically start chatting away, and I'll kind of read out some things that kind of yeah, kind of come up. So and while we're doing that, Jeff, there's one more question while people are kind of brain dumping their thoughts in the chat. With more and more remote work, this is from one of our guests here. Are we looking to pivot from wall whiteboards to more virtual illustrations?
Yeah, that's a good question. We know that, so for most of our team, we build stuff for a living. So the idea of working remotely for us will be different than it will be, I think, for other companies. We absolutely do know, though, that the power of seeing something together and writing on it is a huge, you can tell if somebody doesn't understand it. So yeah, so for us, I think my worldview is it's going to take us 12 to 18 months to learn how to live, I guess, with COVID. And I don't think it's the only thing that will happen in my lifetime like COVID. So I think this is a hybrid model that we just need to look forward to, which is there'll probably be another thing coming in our future. So I think there'll be the best of both worlds. There's certainly some tools that are virtual that are helpful. There is one thing I'd say that of the blessings of COVID, that there is I think a missing element of community. So I've always been the FaceTime guy. I've been awkward. I won't talk to you unless you FaceTime. So I've been, pretty rude about that until this, where everybody assumes that you're going to do some version of a virtual call where there's a camera on. And the reason for that is the body language communicates most of what is being understood. But what we're really craving and what we're seeing is we can do a lot of this content, but the interactions that normally happen on a waste tour and the community and the shared experiences, those are still lacking. So while we will for sure do lots of virtual kata and use the tools where that's better, we're going to also highly recommend teams get together, use our space, and have those shared experiences. So it's a balance of both. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna go with you. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Awesome, cool. Well, we're at the end of our time. Thank you for those who are reflecting in the chat. I can't wait to go through that later. And yeah, thank you for joining us. It was a huge blessing for us to be able to do this today. Hopefully it was for you as well. So our next event is scheduled for November 11th. So next month. So invite a friend, bring another person. We hope to kind of grow these, and then when we get to the point where it's super big, then we can do a lot of breakout sessions and have more of those. So we have more of a dialogue going. And if you have any questions, so there are some that have come up in the chat there, feel free to email me with any questions. You should have my email address by now. So just, yeah, we'd love to connect. And we are doing waste tours right now, virtually, of course, with the current conditions that we're living with. So if you have been missing like a tour and you want to come through on a waste tour, we are doing this, and they've gotten some good feedback from our partners that we've done that. So it's not too much of a drop off, I don't think. So cool. Well, that's it. I will be sending out a survey to get some feedback on how this went and how we could do better, because we're always looking to continually improve. So cool. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you asking questions and showing up. It's been fun.